The 6 o'clock news starts right now.
We begin tonight with new information about the murder of a woman who San Antonio police say was killed by her husband.
The medical examiner's office has identified her as 33-year-old Tanya Lynn Bolding. Just before 4 this afternoon, the medical examiner identifying her husband as 33-year-old Javel Bolding.
According to SAPD, Tanya Lynn was killed here at a mobile home park off of Loop 410.
Yeah, and later that night, police shot and killed her husband here, just off Vance Jackson and I-10 on the northwest side. Tonight, Katrina Weber tells us why it's possible the couple wasn't alone at the time of that murder.
Deadly violence is mapped out in yellow markers at this Northside strip mall. 4 San Antonio police officers unleashed a barrage of bullets Tuesday night on a man who they say fired at them. He was killed. But before he died, police say the 33-year-old also caused havoc at home in this trailer park near Southwest Loop 410 and Old Pearsall Road.
A woman who resided at that location was killed by her husband.
Today, we found out the murder victim mentioned by Chief William McManus that night was 33-year-old Tanya Lynn Bolding. The medical examiner says she died from a shotgun wound.
Probably the worst case scenario is we don't really know what happened. We don't know what initiated it.
Juan Cervantes was puzzled by the police cars around Bolding's home that day, not something he's used to seeing.
Normally I come every Tuesday and I see the lady and her sister outside. And this time it was a lot different.
He described his next-door neighbor as friendly and helpful, often letting his friends park near her home. According to neighbors, there also is a child who lived in this home. Police say they couldn't tell us whether he was here at the time of the murder, but they say that he is safe and with other relatives now. While it's unclear whether Bolding's son witnessed her murder, the death of her husband happened in public view. Officers say they tracked him down in the shopping center through the car he was driving, and they say they had no choice but to shoot him after he fired first. Katrina Weber, KSAT 12 News.
Truth and justice. It's what the family of a man shot and killed by a DPS trooper says they're hoping for. DPS says the shooting happened after 37-year-old Luis Navarro led them on a chase. He ended up crashing into another car on 1604 near FM 68. Witness video shows the moments leading up to the trooper pulling the trigger. We are not showing you the moment that Navarro was shot. DPS says the trooper tried tasing Navarro, but it didn't work. Navarro's family says based on what they know about Luis, they don't believe that he was a threat when he got out of his car. The Bexar County Jail and the Criminal Warrants Division tells KSAT there was an active warrant out for Navarro's arrest. An indictment shows that he was accused of pointing a gun at a family member. In a statement, the family wrote, quote, Luis was flawed and made mistakes, but he's deeply loved and will be missed, end quote. We did reach out to DPS to ask for an interview. They declined. We will keep asking. One of the questions that we would like answered is if Navarro had a weapon on him. Navarro's family says they hope there is a full and unbiased investigation.
A San Antonio Police Department communications supervisor arrested nearly 2 months after he was indicted on a felony charge of indecency with a child. Jason Michael Gonzalez, accused of having a sexual contact with a minor in May of 2019. He was indicted in March of this year. SAPD confirming to us that Gonzalez is still an active employee, but is currently on leave. City Human Resources records show he's been a civilian employee with SAPD since 2006.
Tonight, a man is in jail for killing a man who police say had him arrested earlier this year. Jail records show that 39-year-old Robert Carrasco Jr. is charged with murder. According to SAPD, Carrasco hit 38-year-old Jason Banda with a handgun at a home on the south side. The arrest affidavit says that Carrasco was upset at Banda for, quote, having him arrested earlier this year. In March, Carrasco was arrested for evading arrest and was out on bond.
Fiesta drinking and driving can be a deadly mix. And tonight, the San Antonio Police Department releasing their annual report on drunk driving arrests made during Fiesta. And over the 11-day period, police made 114 arrests for DWI offenses. And while these are just the first 5 days of Fiesta, the least amount of arrests were on the first day. You see right here with 2. The most, April 20th with 18. That's the final Saturday of Fiesta. While 114 total arrests seems like a lot, it's actually the lowest in the last 5 years. Take a look. During Fiesta last year, there were 151 DWI-related arrests. Then if you go back to 2019, there were more than 200 DWI arrests during Fiesta that year.
The city of San Antonio has agreed to sell a lawsuit by a man who was hit by less than lethal rounds at a protest in May of 2020. Lance Alexander filed that lawsuit more than a year after that downtown protest, which was one of many around the country following the murder of George Floyd by a Minneapolis police officer. Garrett Berger tells us both sides are backing away for a price.
Attorneys for Alexander Lance say it was this comment
that better be on safety
that prompted SAPD SWAT officer Jesse Noriega to shoot him in the arm.
Oh, you motherfucker! I had a cigarette.
Lance's attorneys say he and two friends went to see the march over George Floyd's death, a demonstration that devolved into rioting with broken windows, dozens of arrests, and police firing riot control weapons. His attorneys say Lance wasn't a protester. He wasn't even arrested, but he was shot twice.
Shot me, motherfucker! Ah, you motherfucker!
With what the city describes as sponge rounds.
Out here bleeding, these got me.
According to a city memo on the settlement, Officer Noriega believed Lance was going to throw something at police, while Lance's attorneys claimed the officer used excessive force.
He had a broken arm and he had a leg injury, which required immediate hospitalization. He ended up at the emergency room that evening. He was hospitalized for 2 to 3 days.
Today, council members approved a $118,000 settlement. City Attorney Andy Segovia told KSAT the city always analyzes the risk of going to trial versus settling and may settle even if they think they could have won. Lance's attorney said the case had been about not letting them get away with it.
And the idea, it may seem like a small sum, but the issue is that they were held accountable for their actions.
Police would not confirm if Noriega or any of the other officers named in the suit were disciplined over the incident. Garrett Berger, KSAT 12 News.
Kind of sneaking up on us, but the May 4th election is just 2 days away. Voters will be able to elect school leaders, school board trustees, and decide the fate of municipal and school district bond proposals. Early voting ended Tuesday. More than 15,000 people cast their votes before Election Day.
Now, if you need a ride to voting locations, VIA is here to help for free. Passengers need to show their voter registration card to the bus driver to get a free ride to the polling place of your choice. Polls will be open from 7 in the morning until 7 in the evening. You can learn more about the election and VIA's Ride to Vote initiative by heading to our website at ksat.com.
Got to tell you, Adam, I drove to Bernie this morning and there was a downpour on the way up there.
Yeah, it looked like it all day, really.
Yes, and it was what rain did fall was very heavy because the tropical nature of our atmosphere, big fat tropical raindrops that pound down really hard and add up to a little bit, but they're just quick splash and dash. You look at the authority radar at the moment, not much out there, a few spritzes and sprinkles around San Antonio, one pocket of heavier rain, Lytle area, just moved through Atascosa, Lacoste getting clipped by this, not a whole lot to it, but hey, better than nothing. We'll take every drop that we can get. And coming up in a few minutes, I've got the newest drought monitor updated today and recent rainfall totals. You look at rainfall just over the past 12 hours, and here we have it. And we'll actually look at the Bernie area and even along I-10 up to about quarter to half an inch estimated along parts of I-10 there. All right, and we're going to take a closer look at the actual rainfall accumulations from rain gauges and see how long this dampness is going to stick around in just a bit.
All right, thank you, Adam. Let's go out live right now. I want to show you a traffic trouble spot. This is I-35 north at Loop 410. You can see there's a Hero vehicle that's in the left-hand lane. It looks like there's a vehicle that is stalled there. But further up, there seem to be more vehicles as well, and I think that's slowing down traffic. As a matter of fact, traffic came to a standstill moments ago. Back open right now, but again, 35 north at Loop 410, very slow going out there.
May is National Foster Care Month, and the need is still there for families to open up their homes to kids who are in foster care. One local family is doing just that. They have fostered and adopted 4 kids.
Erica Hernandez spent some time with them, and they want to show other families just how much of an impact you can have helping a child in need.
We have 6 children.
Angie and her husband are the true definition of a loving home. After having 2 boys, they decided they wanted a daughter. so they chose to foster to adopt. They would say yes to not only one, but 2 girls, sisters. Several years later, another call came, this time for a little boy who suffered from the effects of shaken baby syndrome. And then not too long after, one more call, this time for another baby girl.
I called my husband and said, "Hey, can you believe the agency just called me again? No, I'm not taking no more babies." So my husband said, "Yeah, go pick her up."
Through their guidance and love, the children, despite their setbacks, have thrived. The family is now hoping to encourage others to take the leap and foster.
We just prayed and we just rolled with it. You know, these kids are not guaranteed tomorrow. You know, everything that we've been blessed with in our world, you know, these kids, like, they just need a second chance.
No longer taking in more kiddos, Angie and her husband now homeschool and enjoy showing others that the impossible really is possible.
I feel better every day.
Erica Hernandez, KSAT 12 News.
Who of us hasn't benefited from a second chance? If you're interested in fostering to adopt, or you just want to ask questions about it, on May 14th, we're going to hold a phone bank with SJRC Texas and Belong. That phone bank will be from noon until 7 o'clock.
Still ahead here on the news at 6, a ranch in Bernie is focused on helping people with developmental, emotional, and physical needs of all kinds. Find out how you can get involved this summer. Next.
Taking a quick look outside with live cam, a lot of dampness. What about real rain? Are the chances gone? Adam Caskey with your full forecast coming up.
A therapeutic ranch in Bernie that helps people with developmental, emotional, and physical needs of all kinds needs volunteers for its summer camp programs.
Tiffany Huertas with what may be the best example of the power of healing from the back of a horse.
This is my happy place, and this is the place where you can always be welcomed.
When 31-year-old Rebecca Stone arrives to this ranch, she can't help but smile, immediately connecting with nature and horses.
What's your favorite part of being with Teeny?
Being able to bathe her and to spend quality time with her.
Open Trail Ranch opened 12 years ago. Participants build confidence and independence.
We are open to the public for those with disabilities. So we service those ages 6 to adulthood, past adulthood into elderly. We have a participant who's in her 90s.
And volunteers are the heart of the ranch.
Do you want to give her a big scratch?
Without our volunteers, we can't run our summer programs. It can take up to 3 volunteers per participant.
Mike Spell has been a volunteer for about 10 years.
As a volunteer, what is your favorite part?
Oh, well, I'm a horse handler, so I lead the horse around, and I'm also a sidewalker, so I'll walk beside the participants. Some of them need more help than others to stay in the saddle, but I think sidewalking, it's more, you get to talk with the participants more about their lives.
You don't need experience to volunteer. They offer trainings.
For this summer, we're actually looking for ages 14 and up who are able-bodied to help with sidewalking and potentially moving on to horse handling.
The next training takes place on Saturdays, starting at 9 a.m.
We ask that you come and be excited to be here and have an interest in those with special needs or animals and like to be outside.
Mike says volunteering is one of the most rewarding things you can do.
It's hands-on involvement with the participants, just so much more rewarding than just donating to a charity.
Tiffany Huertas, KSAT 12 News.
Great opportunity to volunteer if you're looking for one. All right, we're excited to announce our first ever Texas Eats Food Festival coming up in a couple of weeks. It's going to be on May 11th at Smoke Barbecue. 20 local chefs will be there offering samples of their food. It all benefits the San Antonio Food Bank. Scan the QR code on your screen for tickets or go to texaseatstv.com for more information.
All right, let's talk about the weather out there. It is so humid, so drizzly, just kind of murky, but we need the rain, Adam.
We do. Unfortunately, it's not really drought busting or drought denting, but I'll take this kind of weather as long as we get Fiesta hair. We're good to go.
There you go.
There was no choice today.
Yeah, it's good for Fiesta hair. Bring it on. It feels tropical outside. You know, it's like the feel is like we're living in a tropical rainforest because dew points were in the mid-70s earlier, yet we're in a drought. So minus the rain part of that forest. All right, well, let's get to how much rain we had, if any of that makes sense. So at the airport recently, just over 1/10 of an inch. Bernie, over 1/2 an inch. Fair Oaks Ranch, about 1/2 an inch, along with Spring Branch. Helotes, 1/10 of an inch. Now, I know the rain would come down really hard because it's that tropical nature to the rain, but it doesn't add up to what it kind of seems like it is. You know, it comes down really hard. It's pounding your windshield, and you're thinking, oh, man, I mean, there's puddles everywhere. We probably picked up an inch. It's a little deceiving. No, in the rain gauges, typically less than that. But here are some of the higher amounts out there from the storms, especially yesterday. Mason, Texas, 2.58. Check out Huntsville. This is north of Houston. 9 inches of rainfall. College Station over 2.5. I mean, that's where we had the flash flooding out there. Here, storm chances at 20%. So a stray storm or two possible. But here's the caveat. Morning drizzle, 100% chance. Okay, we're going to keep having these drizzly, damp mornings. But I do think we'll finally get more afternoon sunshine in the days ahead, especially as we get into the weekend and early next week. Not much on authority radar to talk about any longer. The little downpours, the heavy rain we had that crossed over I-35 in Lytle, that's already dissipated. Yeah, there's an off chance of a stray storm or two, but through the rest of the night, but most of us really just getting some of that drizzle and very light rain. Here's a look at the action over the past 6 hours. And as I mentioned, most of it east along I-10 and then north of Houston in the I-45 corridor there. It's where some of the heaviest rainfall has been. That's where the sweet spot was. They don't need it, unfortunately. You know, I wish we could spread the love around, but that's not how Mother Nature works. And still some storms popping up far north of us along the West Texas dry line there. In this upper level pattern with this southwesterly flow up above us, the winds coming off the Pacific, we often have these little impulses of energy or ripples in the upper level flow. And all it takes is 1 or 2 of those ripples to help generate a thunderstorm, especially with the kind of instability we're dealing with. It's hard to really tap into it at the right time. But that's why we have those 20% chances for every afternoon tomorrow through the weekend. Here's the newest drought monitor. Updated today, every Thursday, 27% of Texas in drought. No big changes and especially no improvements around here. Still the extreme drought, especially in the hill country. But the severe drought spreads westward to Valverde County down to Maverick County as well. It's the tale of two situations here where we have the drought, 2 different climates, I should say, and then we have plenty of rain off to the east. Hallettsville, Yorktown, Cuero, Karnes City. Not even considered abnormally dry. So 2 different situations here. We had a lot of that drizzly dampness to see on our time lapse today, but it added up to 1/100th of an inch officially at the airport. And look at the big temperature difference. 70s underneath the thick clouds, 71 Helotes, 78 Stinson. But where we've had the sunshine, you look off to the west, Del Rio, 99 right now. Carrizo Springs at 90, even Uvalde at 85 degrees. So tomorrow we start the day at 74 with the drizzle and a few sprinkles, 20% chance of an afternoon storm. If you can't tell from my tone already, I don't have much confidence we'll see any of that. Mid-80s tomorrow afternoon. And again, into the weekend, more of the same, just I think we'll have additional afternoon sunshine. We'll have a little more vitamin D coming in naturally and then warmer next week.
All right. Thank you, Adam.
All right. SAFC back at home after what seems like a long road trip.
Man, I feel like they were gone for the entire month of April. It's not true, but they certainly played a lot of away matches. So, yes, SAFC is at home to start 2 straight home matches. Up first is Oakland, and it was signing day out at Lee Academy. Coming up. San Antonio FC did not put their best foot forward at Miami FC on Saturday, resulting in a 2-1 loss. The club also saw star defender Mitch Tainer go down with an injury as their record dropped to 3-2-3. But after spending a lot of April on the road, SAFC is hoping it can find its way back in the win column during a nice home stretch beginning this Saturday with Oakland Roots FC. Mary Rominger was at Toyota Field this morning, and Mary, the club took that Miami loss pretty hard.
Yeah, Larry, disappointment from last week's loss has certainly lingered, but it also brought to light what the club needs to change, especially if SAFC's captain Mitch Tainter isn't a part of the back line this weekend.
There's always some sort of silver lining. In our team as a collective, we have amazing human beings, but we're incredibly quiet as a group. The challenge is for each individual to find it within themselves. I've got to communicate. To help my teammate, even simple instruction, left or right, it goes a long way.
A lot of people in the group maybe don't want to overstep or don't want to rub people the wrong way, but it's a common understanding that nobody's going to take anything personally if someone does say anything or tries to communicate something, because at the end, like, we're all just here to win.
Every guy on the team is a starter. So yeah, it sucks to lose our captain, but the next guy filling in, it's like nobody's missing. So I'm confident in every single guy, and we're ready to get these 3 points this weekend.
Jorge Hernandez also said a win against Oakland Roots FC would be valuable for momentum entering their first U.S. Open Cup game on Wednesday. From Toyota Field, Mary Rominger, KSAT 12 Sports.
Thank you, Mary. Inside of the gym at Legacy Traditional Schools Lee Academy, 2 high school basketball stars signed their letters of intent to play college men's basketball. Wolfpack point guard Matthew Flores and forward center Jaden Hart-Perkins will compete for Calvary University next season together. Calvary University is a Division II program in Kansas City, Missouri, and their coaching staff made a great decision keeping these two on the same team.
Me and Matt's chemistry is really on point. Me and him work together really well, not just on the court, but off court too. We hang out, do all the things that, friends do.
If I'm coming down the court, he already knows what I want. When he sets that pick, I know what he wants, So just like we work hand in hand, coming to Calvary together, we're gonna both work hand in hand the same way we did in high school.
Hart-Perkins transferred to Lee Academy his junior season from Veterans Memorial, so the chemistry between him and Flores was very organic. The UIL State Track and Field meet is underway at Mike A. Myers Stadium in Austin. Today is all about Class 3A and 4A state titles. The 3-day event will feature 679 schools and 2,525 of the best student athletes in Texas. Per the UIL, our Nick Mantis is there, and he will have a full report tonight on the Night Beat. All right, Nationals at the Rangers this afternoon for some big league baseball. Bottom of the second inning, no score until this. Ezekiel Duran with 2 runners on comes up with an RBI double to left field, scoring Jonah Heim to make it 1-0. Rangers part of a 3-run inning for Texas, and the champs take it 6-0. Nathan Eovaldi went 5 1/3 to pick up his second win on the season.
Maybe the Rangers starting to get hot a little bit.
A little bit.
Yeah. Thanks, Larry.
You sent us questions. We are getting you answers. Doc Talk is coming up next.
It is a segment designed largely by you. Your questions for the doctors that we have with us. Helps if I look at the right camera. Doc Talk is with us. I should have asked Dr. Amy Cobb which camera I should have looked at, because obviously I was wrong with that one. Dr. Cobb from University Health, thank you for joining us.
Happy to be back.
Yeah.
Okay, we have our first question from a viewer about the difference between an HIV and AIDS status. So he writes, when an HIV positive person has their T cell drop below 250 to AIDS status, once their T cells climb back to above the 250 benchmark, does their diagnosis change back to HIV positive status, or does the diagnosis remain AIDS?
Okay, so just for starters, HIV stands for human immunodeficiency virus. This is a virus that infects and replicates in the CD4 cells, which are called helper T cells. And so we measure the CD4 count to have an idea how severe the HIV infection is. Very severe HIV is labeled AIDS, which is acquired immunodeficiency syndrome. So it's a syndrome you can get from having the HIV infection. The cutoff that's recognized by the CDC is a CD4 count under 200. So I think this viewer mentioned 250, but we usually say 200. Or it can be any CD4 count if you also have what we call an AIDS-defining illness, which is like a very aggressive cancer that normally wouldn't get like that, or an infection with something that normally wouldn't cause an infection in someone with a functioning immune system. So the question here is, if you're labeled with AIDS, can that go away? And the answer is yes, it actually can. So if you're on antiretroviral therapy, which is the medicine we use to treat HIV, and you get your CD4 count back above 200 and you don't have one of those AIDS-defining illnesses, you would no longer be considered to have AIDS, although you would still have an HIV infection.
Okay, so it can change.
It can.
All right, thank you.
Next question. What can help with muscle cramps and weaknesses? I've seen several neurologists and doctors, but have not had success.
So I think the first question is why, right? So we have to get to the underlying, why does this person have the weakness and the cramps? It could be a problem with the muscle, the nerves, the circulation, a hormone problem, an electrolyte problem. So definitely want to connect with the care team to try and get those answers. But I can give some general guidance here. So for cramps, one basic thing is stretches that has been shown to help decrease cramping. Hydration is very important for muscles to function well, so making sure we're drinking enough water that when we pee, it's mostly clear. There are some vitamins that can be helpful. So vitamin B complexes, E and magnesium have had some evidence, but you want to get your healthcare team to see what the right dose might be. But the real message or advice I would give here is, a lot of times when you're dealing with weakness, pain, cramps, you're functioning here, and you remember when you were 20 and you could function here, and we see the gap between where we are and where we want to be. But if we can set functional goals, which are, right now I'm struggling to get up from a chair, and if you can just work on that goal, and then you get there and you figure out how to get from the chair to the bathroom, those kind of improvements can really improve your life, even if you're not getting 100% to where you want to be when you want to be there. And there is a specialty called PM&R, physical medicine and rehabilitation, that can help you form those kind of goals and come up with a plan to get you where you want to get.
Okay. Next question from a viewer. This person writes, I have a few ganglions that started out small and have increased in size as well as pain. What can be done to remove the ganglions?
So I think they're referring to ganglion cysts, and what these are fluid-filled sacs that commonly form on our joints or tendons. And the good news, they're not cancerous. We don't have to remove them, but they can cause pain or sometimes make it hard to move the joint. So if that is the case, one quick check you could do is shine a light on the cyst, and if it is indeed a cyst, it'll light up. So the light will go through it because it's filled with fluid. And then your provider could also order like an ultrasound or an MRI to get more details. There are two main ways to remove it if that's what's decided it needs to be done. One is an aspiration, which means you put a needle in, you draw the fluid out. There's some risk it could recur. And then there are surgeries to try and get to the root of it and remove it.
Yeah, I'm glad you explained what ganglions are, because I thought they were gang lions for a little bit, so I was totally mixed up.
That is not a joke.
Yeah. What are symptoms of asthma?
Yeah, so asthma, the most common thing I think about is that chronic cough, and asthma affects 1 in 13 Americans, incredibly common. One thing that can make it tricky is we often diagnose asthma in childhood, and you send a preschooler to daycare, they're going to come home with a cough constantly, and it's always, is it a virus and you're getting postnasal drip, or is it this chronic lung condition we call asthma? So a couple things to look for. One would be you're going to be looking for them to show signs of lower respiratory problems. So breathing hard, seeing the muscles of their tummy working, seeing indentations around their ribs, really working to breathe. And then when a provider, a doctor, healthcare provider listens to them, they'll hear something. They'll hear wheezing, or they'll hear that it takes a long time for them to breathe out. And then you can try giving them an inhaler and see if they respond, and that can be helpful. For kids 6 and up, you can do a pulmonary function test.
Can you outgrow asthma?
Yeah. Often it improves with time. Some people will go on to have it in adulthood as well, but yes, we usually do see it improve with time.
Okay, you mentioned the inhaler. So what steps can somebody take to manage asthma?
First, it's going to be avoiding triggers, and that's going to be different for different people. Commonly, it's viruses, it can be pollution, cigarette smoke, it can be dust mites, cat dander, so knowing what your triggers are can be helpful. And then there are inhalers that we use. So the basic one we think about is albuterol. What it does is it helps relax the smooth muscles along the airway so the airway can open up. But we treat asthma, what we call an asthma care ladder. And so depending on how severe the asthma is, we might step up in the treatment. Some people need controller medications, which are medicines they take every day to help prevent asthma. And one encouraging research that I was recently reviewing, because I was sharing, my daughter recently got diagnosed with asthma, is actually, again, diet can make a big difference. So antioxidants in the diet, increasing fruits and vegetables, has been shown as another kind of natural way to decrease the number of asthma attacks a child or an adult has.
Yeah, thank you for answering that. I appreciate it. We deal with it at my house too.
Yes. It's so hard to see a child struggle to breathe, anyone struggle to breathe. It's
absolutely. Dr. Cobb, thanks for being here.
My pleasure.
Thank you, doctor. All right, if you have a question that you would like us to pass on to the doctors that we have on Doc Talk, We'd love to. Just scan the QR code to submit your questions. Of course, this segment comes to you Thursdays at 6:30. We'll be right back.
Mother's Day is 10 days away. She'd love a hug, a card, a phone call, but retailers, they have some other ideas.
Yeah, that means sales. 12 on your side's Marilyn Moritz shows us some of Consumer Report's top-rated products discounted right now.
Spring sales are heating up, and the month of May, it's all about mom.
Mother's Day falls on Sunday, May 12th this year, so you can expect holiday sales on things like tech gadgets, home goods, beauty products, and other gifts that will make your mom happy.
Sure, she'd love a hug, but a smartwatch can help support her goals, body and mind. The Fitbit Sense 2 is about $200 at Apt Electronics, Amazon, and Walmart. That's $100 off. It has a built-in GPS along with sensors for stress and sleep tracking. If a margarita is her taste, a blender can whip one up. This Cuisinart 3-in-1 is on sale for $99.95 at Walmart. Consumer Report says it makes a mean soup, smoothie, and margarita. At the end of the month, more holiday weekend sales.
Memorial Day is May 27th, so you can look for big sales primarily focused on mattresses, large appliances, and seasonal items like grills.
This Weber Spirit Smart Series grill is as low as $699 at Ace Hardware, and Barbecue Guys, $170 off. It's a midsize with Wi-Fi and a temperature probe. May is for mattress sales, too. The Casper Original Hybrid is $300 off at Amazon, Walmart, and Best Buy. CR says this innerspring and foam mattress is great for side sleepers and spine support.
If you need a new refrigerator or dishwasher, Memorial Day weekend is prime time to buy. That's when Texans pay no sales tax on many Energy Star and water efficient products. And you can expect some sales too. Marilyn Moritz, KSAT 12 News.
Next Sunday, don't forget.
What's next Sunday?
Not this Sunday.
Not this Sunday.
Next Sunday.
Next.
Okay, I'm trying to get it straight.
So we have until Saturday, Steve.
Yeah, we have until next Saturday.
Yeah,
a week from Saturday.
We're good to go.
Yeah, after the night beat, we'll decide.
To be you two. What must that be like?
Just pressing the buttons.
Yeah, seeing what we can get away with.
All right, 73 right now, and you notice actually temperatures will probably rise a few degrees as we go through the night. Higher humidity. You're not going to feel any changes. It's very sticky. More dampness on the way, and actual rain chances stay low. We'll get into that, and also the new drought monitor with how much rain fell and where in the drought-prone areas. Just a bit.
All right, weekend right around the corner. Is it going to be like this? Is it going to be nice, hot? What's the idea?
It's still going to be very humid. We will have some improvements, though, in order to get outdoors and not just have to deal with the drizzly dampness. You know, this is that nuisance kind of moisture, that drizzle that doesn't add up to much. It's not really drought denting. It just gets in the way of what you want to do. Actual storm chances stay pretty low. Here's a view of what it was like in Seguin earlier today. Came down hard for a little bit with these tropical downpours. Well, that's what we get. Some very heavy rainfall over a brief amount of time. And you look at the actual rainfall estimates in the Seguin area, Seguin to Geronimo and New Braunfels, about a half an inch in some of these locations, especially right there, even a little over an inch in just a few spots. But that's the exception. That's where we had some of the heaviest rain in the Seguin area, just north of I-10. Here's the big picture. Some heavier rain closer to Houston and along I-10 east of Seguin earlier today. And still a little bit of activity off to the northwest. Some severe storms in other parts of Texas off to the north. They're isolated in nature. Southwesterly flow aloft. That gives us that upper level energy, little ripples in the flow, little impulses of energy. So still some slight storm chances, but with the instability we've been having lately, if we couldn't pop a big storm the past couple of days, I think odds are against it going forward. So just that 20% chance. Here's the newest drought monitor. We talked about this earlier, and we still have this red area in the hill country and between a third to a half an inch of rain measured by rain gauges in that area. City of Blanco, different story. Big thunderstorm popped up over Blanco yesterday, and it really intensified over Blanco, just under 2 inches of rain for them. Canyon Lake Dam, 0.17. Kerrville, about 1/3 of an inch. Bernie, little over 1/2 inch. Elsewhere around here, Seguin, officially at 1/10 of an inch, but as I showed you, some of those estimates are over an inch just north of I-10 and between Seguin and Geronimo. Alamo Ranch, about 0.18. Stone Oak, 0.2 of an inch. Looking ahead, the generalized rainfall potential keeps it mostly north of us and just out of our area. Yes, we'll have more dampness, but it's not going to add up to a whole lot. Morning drizzle, I give it a 100% chance going forward, even into early next week. So this weekend, we will have that drizzly dampness in the morning, just a little more sunshine by midday and afternoon, and just a 20% chance of those afternoon storms Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Right now we're at 73. Dew point is 71. That dew point, it's on the rise. It's up there. We had dew points in the mid-70s even earlier today. Temperatures all over the place because of the clouds locally. 70s along the Rio Grande. We're in the 90s. And the high today in Del Rio, 100. Meanwhile, San Antonio officially 82. Here's your KSAT 12-hour forecast. 74 at 7 a.m. with that drizzly dampness. By noon, we're at 78 degrees. And then a high temperature of 85 around 4 and 5 p.m., even closer to 90 degrees as you head a little farther west of San Antonio. Next week, we cut out the rain chances, unfortunately, but temperatures will be rising and we'll have more sunshine back in the 90s at that point.
Oof, 90s.
Yeah, oof is a good way to put it.
Oofta. That's another way to put it.
Yeah.
They're going to become more regular, more and more regular. All right, I have one left. A Kasky Eclipse Fiesta thermometer and a few Fiesta medals to go with it. I figured no time better than now to have one last Fiesta giveaway of the season. Oh, and hold on. If I blow hard enough, here it comes.
All right,
I can
there
get
we
confetti
go.
to flutter down.
Yeah, there we go. I wondered what you were doing there for a second.
Yeah, I was getting the confetti from Fiesta. All right, anyways, there's another piece. Perry Schrader of Lavernia, congratulations, the winner of that homemade thermometer. Back to the standard thermometers next week.
All right, thank you, Adam.
There's confetti all over the place up here.
Yes, there is.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. In the buzz, a special graduation. Even birds of a feather need a helping hand every now and then in the buzz. Police officers in New Philadelphia, Ohio, spent part of their day rescuing this group of ducklings you see there. When they arrived on the scene outside an Applebee's restaurant, a worried mother duck standing on top of a storm grate.
Turns out her babies had fallen through, so one officer went down there. He got all 11 of them out. He handed the ducklings one by one to his partner, who was up on the street, and brought them over to their waiting mom.
What a great job.
Takes a village.
It does.
Airbnb has announced a collection of extraordinary experiences. Here are just a few of them. You can live like the X-Men if you rent this 2D animated recreation of Marvel Animation's X-Mansion, located in Westchester, New York.
Yeah, then there's this iconic house from the Disney and Pixar animation Up. It's located in scenic New Mexico, comes with more than 8,000 balloons, and yes, the house really floats. Looks like it does anyway. For fans of music legend Prince, you can experience his Purple Rain house in Minneapolis for the first time ever.
I have so many questions about the Up house.
Yeah.
It's cool.
Yeah. A graduation ceremony in Arlington, Virginia. Decades in the making for a World War II veteran. Meet 100-year-old Jack Milton. He was a sophomore at Western Kentucky University when he was called to active duty. He went on to earn a Bachelor of Arts degree through the University of Maryland's Global Campus in 1966.
But he couldn't attend that graduation because he was deployed to Vietnam. But this week, he finally received the diploma he had earned nearly 60 years ago. Milton says of all the ceremonies that he has been part of in his life, this one is the best.
Cap, gown, and a smile. We'll be right back.
I think we'll make it into the mid-80s locally, but along the Rio Grande tomorrow, back into the mid-90s. You're sensing this trend that becomes all more common when we see 90s on the map. And next week, we'll be seeing 90s in and around San Antonio.
All right, thanks, Adam. Thank you for watching the news at 6.
See you back here on the Night Feed.